We just wait for a few more minutes,
sure,
Meena.
absolutely.
No problem.
No problem at all. Don't worry about me.
Hello, Subramaniana. How are you? Audio is not.
He's just connecting.
Hi, Deepa.
Good evening.
How are you?
All good, ma'am. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Sridevi?
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
Hey, maintain silence.
Dr. Neena, this is Anu, a friend
Yes.
of mine.
Hi. Okay.
She's a magistrate in Kerala, actually.
Oh, how?
Lawyer. So, very good friend
Okay.
of mine. Her husband's also a friend of ours. We've never been in
Hi,
it.
Anu.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Lovely having you here with us. Nice
Isn't
to
it?
see a pretty
Thank you so much.
magistrate.
Thank you.
Hi, Swati.
Good evening, Neena ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, Meenakshi ma'am.
Good evening, Swati. Swati,
Meenakshi, Swati is an assistant director with us.
Nice, lovely. Nice to meet you.
And she's been my student for about, I think, 6 years, Swati?
More than that.
More than that, yeah.
2006.
Lovely. Nice meeting you, Swati.
And I'd
Pleasure.
also like you to introduce you to Deepa. Deepa's vice president at Take Solutions. She's in the US.
All right. Hi, Deepa.
She was Miss Chennai and
Oh,
also a lovely girl.
I'm sure. Hi, Deepa.
Hi, happy to be part of this call today. It suits the time as well, thankfully.
Oh yeah, it's night at night, like it's evening. It's morning. Yeah, you must be getting to work, right? Which part of the US are you in, Deepa?
Jersey.
Ah, lovely. My daughter just finished and got back.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anu,
Balachandra sir, welcome. Hi, Sundar. Balachandra sir is one of the senior most management professionals in Tamil Nadu. He was with the Madras Management Association, and he's one of a walking, talking encyclopedia.
I'm sure with that much of experience behind him, I know.
I'm not as great as Neena Rao. Neena Rao is a great lady, woman of great substance. I just managed the show at MMA. That's all. I learned a lot of things, the journey of my life. That's all. That's all.
That's being very humble, but thank you, sir. And then, Nina, we have Tenmoli with us. Tenmoli is, she is also one of our, at Ace Innovation. She is, she's working with the Ministry of Education at Singapore.
Oh, lovely. Nice to meet you.
Fantastic. It's a very good area of functioning.
Absolutely.
Actually, Neena Rao, when I was working as a manager at MMA, and I encouraged Neena to participate in the women manager, best women manager contest. She got the first prize. So she has become a best women manager International Women Day conference. In front of 1,000 women managers, Neena Rao was greatly honored with the best women manager award.
She is very enterprising and efficient. That's for sure.
Not as much.
Madam, congratulations.
Got a lot to learn. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Not as much. Meena is a real, inspiration. And I think Anu must be also.
It's turning out to be a mutual admiration.
Can you hear me?
I know.
Somebody's asking if she can be heard.
At that point in time, Neena Rao didn't know her potential. I knew her potential. I exhorted and motivated her to participate. She won the prize.
Lovely. Somebody was trying to say hello, I think.
Hi, Shiva Kumar. Shiva?
Hello.
Hi,
Good evening.
Kumar.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Yeah,
Shiva
thank
is
you.
a management consultant, Meena, and to everyone else here.
Nice to meet you,
Good
Shiva.
evening. Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening. Good evening.
I think we are interesting to know about your, real adventurous journey.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing my stories with all of you today.
Sure. Thank you.
Hello, Shivakumar. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Satish.
Good evening. So finally you are back to join.
Yeah. I didn't get the link. I just got
I
that.
understand. Yeah. So that,
The design. Yeah.
Bala sir, good evening. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah. I
Good
think
evening, sir.
something wrong with. Are you able to see my face on the video?
No, I'm not able to see. Even I had a problem. So I just got it okay now.
Since morning, my video is not functioning. Only volume is working.
I had an issue just now. It is okay now.
Oh, you also have the same problem.
I had a problem. I'm just running around for this for the last 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah.
Let the meeting be over.
Yeah. Swati, good evening.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good evening, Satish sir.
Good evening. Sashikala ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, Satish sir. Good
Hi.
evening, Swati.
Good evening. Good
Hi,
evening.
good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Good evening, Sharma.
Major's
Good
joining.
evening, ma'am.
Yeah, Major's there. Major's already there.
Good evening, Major.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening,
I've
sir.
got one whole list of experts to welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, Madam Sasikala. Waiting to hear from you. She there? No.
Yeah.
Dr. Subramani sir, thank you for coming. Mr. Sivakumar, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Miss Deepa from US, thank you. We have got a magistrate. That's very nice. Thank you, Miss Anu, for joining us.
Thank you, Major sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are humbled to attend this.
Pleasure to have you on board. Thank you, Tain, for joining us. We're going to start soon.
Yeah, can we start?
Can we start? We can
Yeah,
start.
we start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we
have
can
already 30
start.
of them.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to everyone. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. There is something magical about travel that unites people and creates a shared sense of understanding of culture, time, and place. Ace Novation Singapore, Ace Novation India, and Blue Hornbill Club welcomes one and all to the webinar titled Woman with a Mission, an insider story of Meenakshi Sai. A woman with a voice is, by definition, a strong woman. Ace Novation's very own backbone, Dr. Neena Gayatri, will deliver the welcome address and introduce the resource person. Over to you, Neena ma'am.
Thank you, Hannah. Good evening. There are two powers in this world, one of the sword and the other the pen. There is great competition and rivalry between the two. There is a third power stronger than both, that of a woman. Ace Innovation Group, Blue Hornbill Group, welcomes you to the celebration of this wonder woman called Meenakshi Sai, an entrepreneur, travel addict, roadaholic, TEDx speaker, environmentalist, social activist, politician with a passion for interior decoration, a penchant for travel, a quest for adventure, a green thumb, and a loyal friend. You, that's quite a lot, isn't it? Well, this is just the beginning. Google Map is her homepage. Lovely Lonely Page is her guide, and her favorite reads, and her tattoo is that of a world map on her shoulder. She's always looking to travel and visit both within and outside of India. To this roadaholic, the thrills, challenges, sights, and interactions on the road trip can never be matched by an air trip unless you're the pilot. On her visited countries scratch off world map, she's not only scratches off all the countries she's visited, but also yearns for one's not on her palette. She savors, lingers, and imbibes the art, culture, history, and the personas of each and every place she visits. This fearless road warrior has traveled into the unknown, making her own path and discovering the undiscovered. Hard to be pinned down, doing one thing in one place for a long time, she's branched out, doing things differently, fearlessly. Joint Managing Director of a textile unit, Managing Director at the Lakeside Resort Dindikal, and another journey beckons this multifaceted personality, politics. Recently, she was made the Tamil Nadu State General Secretary of Mahila Morcha of the BJP. This is just the beginning and has miles to go before she sleeps. Come, let's listen to the story of this wonder woman of substance who traveled the world, taken risks, been fearless, stood straight up for causes against violence against women to cervical cancer, changed her world and the world around her, tried this and that, initiated and created beautiful experiences to better the world, and is yet humble and down to earth. Her smile and travels miles, goes beyond expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, Meenakshi Sai is here to lay the road for you. Meenakshi?
Thank you, Neena. Thank you, Hannah.
Welcome.
It's been lovely talking to all of you before we start this meeting formally. Thanks so much for having me. And it's always lovely connecting with people. I love talking to people, making new friends. So that Coimbatore is a big city, but I traveled a lot, and then I found myself sitting in Dindikal, dwindling my thumbs, not knowing what to do. And I started working with my husband for like the first 3 months, and I realized that we don't work well together. Both of us are very strong personalities. Like Marvin and I, we started bringing back work home, and the whole thing changed at home. And I said, okay, I'm not going to work anymore. This is not working. So I stopped working, and I just didn't know what to do. And I had my baby. She's 24 years old, Vedika. She's a liberal arts student, graduate. She's back home after studying in New York. Doesn't have school, so I moved to Coimbatore. She went to under school, UKG, LKG there, and then I put her in Podi school in boarding, and then again I found myself pretty jobless, and I started traveling slowly. I mean, I took up travel with friends, with family, and I found that I like travel a lot, and I started writing and stuff like that. And all along, I've always been I love machines. I love the car. I like the way it functions. I've always been very curious. Thanks to my father and my 2 older brothers. So growing up with 2 older brothers, you always, you're almost like a tomboy. My mom says that, I might as well have a third boy. She's never home. She's always with the boy. So I started driving around so much by myself. I started loving being behind the wheel. And in 2016, my daughter went abroad after graduating. After graduating her 12th standard, she went to the US, and I was like planning, trying to do something like a road trip. And in 2016, my family and a bunch of friends drove from Imphal to Bangkok. It was my first overlanding trip. I usually pick up cars and drive across the world, but that was the first time that I was crossing borders. Of course, you do that in Europe. You cross borders seamlessly, but borders properly. Like we drove from India to Myanmar to Thailand. So that was my first trip, and I was like completely amazed by what I saw and what travel is that way. And then I said, air travel is nothing close to what this is. And back then only I was planning my Coimbatore London. So Coimbatore London was I was putting down stuff, I was doing the route, I was doing so much of research, and this was like a teaser for me. It was a 12-day drive at 3,000 kilometers from Imphal to Bangkok, and we have 5 cars and a bike, and I was as always, I'm the only woman. So it was wonderful. We had so much fun, and I found it very easy, and I said, okay, let's do Coimbatore London, and I planned it. It took about 3 months to just do the route. Basically, you do the route. I was sitting in front of the world map and Google Maps, and trying to do the route. So that took about 3 months, and then to do the research on the paperwork, kind of paperwork that involves is incredible. It takes again another 3 months to just figure out what you need. Each border requires each country requires a set of paperwork. So you do all that, and then you do the budget, you do everything, you plan it to the T. You do micro planning, like to what hotel you will stay and where you will stay, what cities you will break, that sort of thing. And then I asked all my family. When I was planning all this, everybody was very curious, and they said like, oh, I'd love to go. And when I actually had the plan and I told my friends and family, and everybody's like, no, this is too much, this is 72 days. I can't take 72 days off, it costs that much money. All sorts of children have exams. It's difficult for anybody to take 70 days off from their life and just go, just drive off. It's not easy. So then I found myself with nobody. Like I was just by myself, and I said, I have to do it this year. And I put it out on Facebook. I actually found my 2 travel partners on Facebook, on social media, complete strangers. I didn't know them from before. I didn't know they existed, forget knowing them. So I put it out on Facebook, and friends tagged people. It kind of, I found these 2 ladies from Bombay and from Pollachi. And Priya Rajbal from Mumbai, she is this older person. She's 55 and I was 45 then. And then my younger, the Mukambika Ratnam from Pollachi is 35. So 3 different generations almost, and 3 women from different social upbringing, total strangers to each other. How that can be, the dynamics of that can be in a closed space. So finally we got together and we actually left. Everything went well. I must also tell you a little bit of Mukambika, because she was never traveled before. She's never had a stamp on her passport. She's never been to Sri Lanka, Nepal, nowhere. Never stepped out of the country. So that was the kind of team that I had. And Priya was a well-traveled person. She actually holds a Canadian passport, so visas were easy for her. So Mukambika, we had 2 UK visa rejections. Every visa was difficult because she was also from an agricultural background. So she had, no bank transactions, that sort of thing. So we had so much trouble with her UK visa, and finally we actually got her passport in somewhere. We didn't have it when we left Coimbatore. So March 23rd we left Coimbatore, and so much of fanfare. There was there were 3,000 people just came out from Coimbatore, and it was something that people were not heard of. So people just came out and sent us off with so much love and so much of support. It's overwhelming. Never stepped out of the country. So it's like basically I'm taking somebody like a baby with me. On the way, we saw women who had achieved so much. Kiran Bedi ma'am, Usha Uttap in Kolkata. We honored them. We met with them, and it was a beautiful, beautiful India. Driving through India was fabulous. And then we drove out of India to Myanmar, and again 4 days there was fabulous. I would say, like, because you have a guide in Myanmar requires somebody to drive with you, a car to drive with you, a military person to drive with you. So that sort of thing. So you're always taken care of. You know where your food, you're getting your food, and it was very, very comfortable, very, very nice 4 days. We did a lot of sightseeing. We met a lot of people. It was fun, and then we drive into Thailand. This was on a Friday at 5 p.m. and everybody's like excited. Both of us are so excited to be in Thailand, our second country. And then we drive into Thailand, and we stopped at the border. Passports are stamped, and the immigration officer tells me and Mokambika that we can go. So then we went to the car and drove, and they said, "Where's the papers of the car?" So we showed them the papers all over again, and he kept saying in that no paper, cannot go back, go back. So that sort of thing. So we're trying to talk to him about what kind of paper that you need. We have everything. We have the car name, we have the whatever, the insurances, the blah blah blah. Put out everything. He says, "No, there's a new permit. He says. I'm like, "What new permit?" So we had left on March 23rd, and there was a new permit that came into process on the March 31st, and here we are on the April 6th or 7th trying to leave. So I had no clue about this, just about no clue about this new permit that this guy is talking about. So I mean, we just didn't know what to do. So, and we as Indians, we tried to talk to him and talk him out of it. We did everything. We cried. We tried to bribe him. We did everything, but it just did not work. He kept saying, "You can go. You can't take the car. Leave the car. Go get the paper." But he wouldn't tell us where to go to get the paperwork and what kind of permit it is. So and then we still went on till about 8:30 in the evening. He literally threw us out. So land borders are typically just sheds with little cubicles here and there, and very, very, and usually in desolate border towns, there's not much of activity. At that point there is, but when everything closes and people leave, it becomes very quiet and there's nobody. So at 8:30 in the evening, he literally throws us out, and he shuts it's like a grill gate on either side, and our car's parked there. So we told him we need to get stuff from the car. So we go to the car, we pick up everything, chargers, money, passports, blah, 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 papers, some clothes, some food. And then we step out, and then there is this, everything is dead. There's nobody. There's absolutely, it's dark, and it's just me and Mokambika, and I'm looking at her and she's looking at me. And it was something that I can never forget. And it was like in the movies, literally. And then we walk a little bit, and then we find this little dingy lodge. And I mean, typically CD plays, like, and then we go in there and say, "Okay, we want a room." It was like in the movies, like typically. So, and then there is again this drunk, beer pot-bellied man sitting there, and he wanted 300 baht. Looking at us, he said, "We pay up front." So we paid him, and we sat there, and we called everybody, all the connections that I had and she had. We called the embassy, stuff like that. And then thankfully there was this one person in Coimbatore who knew the ex-Prime Minister of Thailand. And he said, "You guys fly to Bangkok and we'll see what we can do. There's nothing you can do sitting at the border." So this permit needs to come from the Land Transport Department in Bangkok. So you get there ASAP. So Saturday we flew to Bangkok. We couldn't do anything on Sunday. So Monday morning, we had some friends we stayed with, and my agent had flown there to Bangkok. And then we went to the Prime Minister's office, ex-Prime Minister's office, and he was not very happy with the whole idea. Look at these two random women showing up at his doorstep at 9 o'clock in the morning, wanting this permit. He said, "You didn't do your research." I said, "Look, I've done all the research. I mean, it's not oversight from my part. It's just a new permit that I didn't know about. I was on the road. There's nothing you could have done." So he said, "Okay." He showed some mercy on us and sent us off to the Land Transport Department and called them and said, "Do the needful." But the guy who was supposed to sign the paper wasn't there, because from Wednesday is the Songkran festival. Everything shuts down in Thailand. It's their New Year's, and we literally had 48 hours to get this permit, and which I believe would have taken 3 weeks. So, and my agent stayed back in Bangkok and said, "You guys fly back to the border, which is the Mysore. It's like Coimbatore, Chennai, a half-an-hour flight, Bangkok, Mysore." So we flew back and we waited, and then we actually got the permit in 24 hours, and they faxed it to us, and we drove like crazy. We drove through Thailand, we drove through Laos, and ended up at the China border in less than 24 hours. Wow. So that was our first That was our first, and it wasn't even like it was just a second country. We left India, Myanmar, and it was a second country. And I was like, and every time we got to a border, I got so nervous after that. And thankfully, Priya joined us back in Kazakhstan, and then the team was back together. But what I'm trying to say is, like, the kind of work that you put in, whatever that you do, travel just throws these surprises at you, shocks at you. And there's another place where we ended up at the wrong border. From China, we were going to Kyrgyzstan. We had this local guide with us. In China, again, you have a guide traveling with you. It's mandatory to have a guide with you. So she's sitting near. You can ask for a female or a male guide. So she's sitting with you. And then we reached Kashgar, where the Uyghur people are, the ethnic people are, where there's a lot happening right now in China. So we were there, and then at that point, she leaves us and she hands us over to a local Uyghur person, because she cannot travel freely around that province because she's in danger. So she leaves us, and there's some sort of miscommunication between them. And this person takes us to the wrong border, So into Kyrgyzstan, there are two borders, and it's like a fork. So you're driving, and then there's a fork. He takes the right, he doesn't take the left. He drops us there, and he takes off. And there is a bit of no man's land, almost like a 45-minute drive between China and Kyrgyzstan. And it's cold. As we're going, we're at 40 degrees, basically we're at 40 degrees. We're in shorts and casual clothes. And as we go, the temperature dips. There's snow, there's sleet coming. And then I'm looking at Mukambika, and she's like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe. Because it can't be wrong, the drive. And we didn't even think something could go wrong. So we drive into Kyrgyzstan. We got a passport stamp, and again, there's a guide waiting for us, supposedly. So I call him. His name is Tolbek. I still remember. I call him, and he says, I'm at the border. And I look around. There's nobody, and it's snowing so heavily. I couldn't see 10 feet in front of me, and it's bitterly cold, and we weren't dressed for it. So Mukambika is in the car pulling on layers, and I'm standing and talking to this guy who doesn't speak a word of English, So I hand over the phone to the immigration officer, and he says, wrong border. He talks to him and looks up at me and says, wrong border. I'm like, what? What did you just say? So he says, no, wrong border. Go back, he says. And there's all these visas, we cannot go back because it's all single entry visas. You have to keep going ahead. There's no way we can go back into China. And it involves a whole lot of paperwork, a month or two ahead. So there's no way we can get back into China. So we're like, okay, it's okay. We'll get to that border. He says it's 1,000 kilometers away. There's this mountain range in between that you cannot cross. You have to go around it. So I'm like, wow. And then he said, okay, we'll drive. And then I go out, and it's snowed in completely. We don't have store tires. We don't have chain. Don't have chain. So he said, you stay the night. I mean, this is all in just sign language. Stay, go tomorrow. And I said, okay, what else can you do? There's nothing we can do. We're almost at negative 10, 12 now, temperatures. And we parked the car. We just parked the car where it is. And this guy says you can stay with the security officers. So we pick up our bags and follow this guy, this big Russian guy, 2 men. And then he takes us to a 10 by 10 room. And it's just a room. There's nothing in it. And there's a bedding stacked on the sides. And he says, this is, and I was like, what? This is where we're staying. He says, yeah. And I had tears in my eyes. I didn't know what to do. Phone stopped working there because it's all run on generators, and they shut everything off. Power goes off. We lost communication with home. Everybody is panicking back home. Facebook was going nuts. People asking where we are. Everybody was following us like every day, every step of the way. The whole of Tamil Nadu was following us. So people were going nuts to see what was happening with us. And then here we are with 2 strangers, strange Russian men. They took such, and I was looking at him, and I had tears in my eyes. And he said, no worry, family, wife, home, he says. That's all he says. And I ran to him, and I just hugged him, and they took care of us. They fed us. And at that night, the temperatures dipped to about -20. And I'm telling Mukambika, and there's this one man on this side, and there's another man, and both of us in between, holding hands. For the first time, 45 years, I'm holding another woman's hand and praying that everything will be all right next morning, and we'll actually get out of this alive. So, and Mukambika says it's going to be fine. And I'm like, car's not going to start tomorrow, it's diesel, it's going to freeze at -7. We're at -20. I'm looking at the temperature. She says, yeah, what can you do? So the next morning, I run to the car, and I start to crank the engine, and it says ice possible. and the car just, it was dead. We couldn't get her going. So then we had to light a fire, did the whole thing, and they helped us. And then we left. We left about 11:30 in the morning, and I drove 180 kilometers downhill on black ice roads. And I've never seen roads like that. It was like totally downhill. Then climb. I mean, it was just, and we didn't see a soul. If we had left that night, we wouldn't have made it off that mountain. So we made it, thankfully, and then we drove another extra 1,000 kilometers to the spot we're supposed to be. So these are the two experiences that we had on the Coimbatore-London drive. And then Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is beautiful. Uzbekistan, we met so many Indians, and people just came out in hordes to meet us. People are following us on Facebook. And then there were so many Indians, the Indian diaspora, all of them. We were in touch with the embassies. The embassies were so nice. They took us in. In Uzbekistan, we camped at the ambassador's house because he was South Indian, and then he fed us vadas and idlis, and that's the food that I'm a vegetarian. So traveling as a vegetarian is very, very hard. In Kazakh places like this, they eat horse meat, and it's difficult. I mean, there's no concept of vegetarian, that it doesn't exist for them. They look at you very weirdly. So that happened. Uzbekistan, I must tell you, does not have diesel. So we'll have to have jerry cans with diesel in them when we cross the country. So when it's very easy to say jerry cans on roof of car, 20 liters, 2 cans, but we are 2 women. We will have to fill the can, hoist it up onto the car, and the cans itself are metal, the fireproof cans. So for us, both of us, to do that work and get it up and then also put it into the funnel, and then the whole process is so damn exhausting. For many people, it's they say it's a trip that it's so much fun, but let me tell you, it's not all fun. It's a lot of hard work. We sleep in a different bed every day. We get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and drive, no matter how tired you are or if you're sick, because all these visas are very date specific. The entry and exit dates are mentioned. Till you reach Europe, you cannot even take a day off. You have to go by the itinerary. So it takes a lot of endurance and a lot of mental strength to actually get through that bit into China, plus all the trouble that's happening in the car. You can imagine 3 women in a car, confined spaces. There's a lot of cabin fever, like they call it. So little things can irritate you. If you want to buy a bottle of water, there are 3 opinions. Like basically everybody wants a different thing, even if you want to buy a bottle of water. So holding it all together and to stay sane and get through this it's a lot. But for me, it's been a huge learning. What have I learned from this? It's only been learning, and I'm somebody who likes to learn from everybody, from a child to anybody. I mean, I love to learn. You're not born knowing everything. I believe so. So every day is learning, and for me, it's been huge learning. It's such a learning curve that it's changed my life as well. I've done so many positive things. I've done so much of. I've met people across the world who I've learned from, who I'm still in touch with, who've given so much. I've learned that love is big. Like, I mean, you can just give without without expecting anything back. And on these trips, we've met people who've just come out of their homes and given us food, knowing that we'll never, or just taken us into their homes, knowing that I'm never going to see them again in my entire life. I'm not going back to Kazakhstan to this random house. I don't even know what village that we stopped in for hot water. So I've realized that I have to give back more, to be more kind. I've changed so much as a person. If anybody who knows me from 4 years before to what I am now, I'm like very, very different. So that's happened, and it's humbled me so much. This kind of travel has humbled me. You're nothing. Basically, we've all learned that we're nothing with the corona, but I've also learned this from travel. I mean, you're absolutely nobody out there. You're at the mercy of the road. You're at the mercy of the weather, and my tolerance has gone up like 100-fold. You must ask my husband. He'll tell you. Anu would know, because I've become very tolerant. I've been tolerant of weather, people, everything. Immigration officer. You just have to bite the bullet and sit there. It just changes you. This kind of travel actually changes you so much. And when I drove we reached on the June 5th as scheduled. In spite of a delay, the days we lost in Thailand, we made up those days. We cut on a few days and we drove, and we reached on the June 5th at 5:30 into central London in front of India House as scheduled. And my entire family was there. My brothers, my sister-in-law, my husband, my child, my nephew, the entire family was there, and 100 other people who I didn't know. There were a few friends, of course, a splattering of friends, but there were 100 people in typical rainy London weather, everybody holding umbrellas and waiting for us in front of India House. And I'm like, what did I do good in life? I mean, it was so unnaturally. We actually drove in without a single scratch on my car. Nothing happened to the car. We'll come back to the car in a bit. And I would say it's the biggest moment in my life as of today. Literally nothing, the more trips I do or whatever I do will not even compare to that moment. And I get out, and you're literally on India land, because India House, of course, like everybody knows, it's India. So it was amazing. And I want to talk a little about my car, Dano. We called her Dano. We went to Tata Motors as soon as the car was launched. Let me go back a little bit. So I wanted to drive to India. This was to London in an Indian car, because it was for 70 years of Indian independence. And it doesn't make sense to go in an imported car. I was offered a Volvo and other cars, but I had to say no, but I wanted an Indian car. So there were only two choices, Mahindra and Tata. Mahindra said no. Outright, they said, no, we don't do this sort of thing. So then I went to Tata, and then thankfully I had some pull there. Naren Karthikeyan is my cousin, so he put in a word for me. And then the Hexa was just launching for them, and it was a good thing for them to do. So they gave me the Hexa. And the three of us went to Pune to learn some mechanics. We worked in the factory for two days. They taught us what to do, basics about what can go wrong with the car, because even they don't know, because it's a new car. Only the media cars were out. Their cars were just getting built. The car wasn't even launched. So they don't know what was happening with their own Hexa. So we drove back from Pune. We took the car from Pune, drove to Shirdi, prayed, and then drove to Coimbatore. So on the way we were driving, and then we said, okay, we should name the car Dano. We're a team of women. We should name her. So Priya came with the name Dano, because Dano is, like everybody knows, from Basanti's horse from Sholay. And she's an underdog. She's not a hybrid or anything. She's just a horse who stood by Basanti till the end. So we called her Dano, because Tata is also considered the underdog in the automobile industry in India. So we called her Dano, and Dano performed so beautifully, except that one place where the diesel froze, and that's not her fault. So she was our home for 70 days. And even today, she's in my garage. She's been given to me from Tata. And we didn't even have a flat. It was just, and we did no oil service or nothing. We did 27,800 kilometers without an oil service, without a flat, with nothing. She just did beautifully, and we just kept topping the oil as we went. And we kept in touch with Tatas and kept asking them, should we change oil? We had all the spares. I must tell you that it's a new car. It had 19 inches wheels, and that's the only car in India or abroad that has 19-inch wheels. Most cars have 17, 16, 21. This is a very odd size. So we carried two wheels, 2 tires, extra tires, a whole bunch of spare parts. More than the food and our clothing, the spare parts were taking the space in the car, on the roof, on the back. So that was very special. And she's done one more trip. She did Coimbatore, St. Petersburg, and has about 120,000 on the Odo, and about 50,000 out of the country, actually, which is crazy for an Indian car. She's been twice to China, twice to Russia. I mean, it's incredible that this car has done so much. I'm so proud of it. And today she's still sitting in my garage. So these are the things that I can't tell you how life has changed so much after that. And in fact, I met Anu and Sharat also because of the trip. We were doing a TV interview, and then these two were there. They had done a Coimbatore, Nepal for their honeymoon. So that's how I met them, and we've become friends. So that's how you become friends, and then you stay friends for life, and you nurture relationships. You learn so much. And after I came back, I started doing a little bit of work on cervical cancer. So I've been doing talks on it, basically because there is no awareness. I would say even zilch awareness about cervical cancer. There's so much awareness about breast cancer, and there's so many drives and marathons run and all that. But basically, nobody's talking about cervical cancer because it's still very taboo to talk about sex and all that. So it's something that I've been doing, taking up. It's very close to my heart, and I've been working on it I've done about 100 talks in Tamil Nadu for it. And from my trust, I've also been vaccinating girls for free because it's expensive. They need 3 shots, 3 injections basically, and it's about 6,000 rupees. So I'm trying to do that as well. So this is the kind of work that I'm doing. And with the corona lockdowns happened, I'm still trying to talk to people. And then there's lots of talks I'm doing with school kids and storytelling, and just talks to, and interact with the Chinmaya kids, and I'm doing talks with them every week and just interacting with them. So if you guys have any questions, I could just go on and on, because this is basically 70 days plus another 52 days. My second journey was from Coimbatore to St. Petersburg, again in Danno, and then a second Hexa, which Anu's husband came along with. So we were 4 men and 4 women. Again, 4 people, complete strangers, 4 people who knew each other. That was a 52-day journey, even more taxing, even more challenging than Coimbatore London. I thought Coimbatore London was hard. This was doubly hard because there were 8 people. 3 became 8, 2 cars. There's more opinions, more friction, more everything, more paperwork. So it was crazy, and that happened well. Couple of glitches along the way, as expected, bound to happen when you do trips like this. It went on well. We came back in October. We left. We were actually in Prayagraj last year. Actually, it was happened last year. We had left on August 7th, and we reached on the September 27th, and came back to India on the October 2nd. So we're actually on the drive. I was in Prayagraj last year today. So it's been very nostalgic that I'm actually talking about it. And yeah, you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself and we can interact and make it a little. I'm just rambling away. So
thank you, ma'am, for this eye opener. Many of us may want to accompany you on your next road trip. Participants are now open to ask questions.
Yeah. Okay. I think Mrs. Meenakshi Arvind, I think your talk was like, for me, it was like a big adrenaline rush. Like, it was like seeing a Hollywood movie in an Indian version of
Thank
yours.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think the first ever webinar talk where there is so much of, I could say, all the happy hormones getting stimulated.
Thank you, sir.
And a great surprise when you told you have a 24-year-old daughter. I was wondering, you are from some college, but you see, I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm.
Thank you, sir.
I think that gives you all the drive in life.
Thank you,
I think probably I'll just come to the question. Before that, I want to tell, I cannot stop that. Maybe you read this Life is an Adventure, enjoy the ride, that tagline somewhere, which motivated you.
Absolutely.
And two things I want to know from you. First of all, even being a man, even when I travel on business to foreign countries, especially countries like Africa, we are really scared, when even to move out in the evening. Okay. Even in such a modern country like Singapore, when we travel, we always look for companions, and we in unknown terrain, it's very, very difficult. So my first question will be, being a woman, from where did you get this daring, that mindset, to travel or taking such a big risk? That's my first question.
Right.
And the second one is that you talked about cervical cancer. I do a lot of work in healthcare. I do a lot of medical documentaries. If I'm able to help your venture to some extent, I have some connections with the cancer companies, Tata Research and these type of companies.
Thank you.
I think well connected with Dr. Anita, who's a cancer specialist in Chennai. Maybe I can able to support you in whatever small way. So this one. So the first one, my question is that for men who don't have the guts like the way you are, even I am not that gutsy to take my car alone to my hometown. I always look for someone to accompany me. Suppose the car punctures, what do I do? So in this case, how do you set your mind? How do you prepare your mind for these type of expedition? Number one. This is one. And did you take, since you told Narayan Karthikeyan is your cousin, did you take some sort of a driving class from the Ace Car Racer so that you're well prepared on the journey? Or is there any tips you want to give it to us who are amateurs on long distance, who love to travel long distance, but we don't have the guts to travel?
Right.
So one is on the mindset, and another thing, how do you pursue your passion? Because I have a passion for travel and things, but only thing that fear factor. In Africa, when I go, like after 6 o'clock, I'm at home rest, you don't have that.
Unsafe, sir. Yes, yes.
Unsafe. So I would like to know about this.
Yeah, so I have always been traveling alone a lot. I drive a lot by myself in the car. I've never had that problem from a very young age. Since I'm from Coimbatore, I would drive Coimbatore, Dindigul, Kodaikanal in triangles every week by myself. I've never had a driver in my life ever. So, and when we're all driving, I mean, when all of us are going out, it's understood that Meenakshi will drive. A whole bunch of friends are going on a road trip, or there are 3-4 cars. My car, I mean, nobody even offers to drive because then I'll be driving. So that's how it is. And that's one thing. My mom raised me like a boy. I was one of the boys. I literally grew up with my older brothers and their friends. So I know a little bit of mechanics. So knowing a little bit of the car helps you, gives you that much of a confidence for you to know. If you can't do, these days you can't do much with your car. It's all computer operated. When they shut down, they shut down. You really can't. But you can at least tell from, I'm always listening to the engine. If there's a little bit of a noise that my car is making, I will know immediately. And I know where that's coming from, what's wrong. So I actually listen to the car. So those are the things on the car front. But to do something like this, yes, it requires a lot of mental strength. But I never feared driving alone. So let me tell you, I've never had that fear because I've traveled alone a lot by myself. Even abroad, I've traveled a lot. I've done solo road trips abroad by myself. In fact, after I came back from Coimbatore, London, I did a 3-week holiday in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania just by myself. There was nobody. It's me and my rental car that I drove. In all these 3 countries, I drove through the length and breadth of those 3 countries, and I found that driving alone is like a meditation. I love being by myself in the car. It's me, myself, and my music in the car and the roads. It just speaks to me. So I've never had that fear. And knowing a little bit, like you said, knowing a little bit of the car, if you can change your own tire, then I think it's a lot. Because abroad, nobody stops to help you. If you have a flat, you have a flat. You'll have to call for help. But India, hundreds of people will come and help you. But abroad, nobody is there to do that for you, So Africa, of course, I'm sure people will come and help you, but you need to be very, very careful on that also. South America, people will help you, but you need to be, again, very careful. These are the things, but we take extreme precaution when we go on these road trips because there's so much of research that goes into it. Like if you want to stay in a hotel, that hotel needs to have secure parking. It cannot have street parking because you're leaving so much stuff in the car. Your papers are there, money is there. You have in places like Kazakhstan, Russia, Kyrgyzstan, all these places are very unsafe, supposedly. But if you're watching your back, if you have your antennas up all the time, then you're okay. So you do that much of research. You do not park carelessly. You do not drive carelessly. Those are the issues. I mean, those are the things that we always follow rules. There is no speed braking, absolutely nothing, no jumping lights. I mean, those are the things we constantly are. I'm on the case, like I'm on my team's case all the time. Even on the second road trip, we were 2 cars, 8 people. So everybody has a different driving style. So it's a little difficult to keep control on. So I was the captain and then I had this walkie-talkie, I'm like, and Sharath in the other car. So we're constantly keeping tabs on people driving. So these are the things we take precautions and we don't do things. I mean, people say Delhi is unsafe, New York is unsafe. I mean, it's there. It's in any city in the world is unsafe. So we don't go out at night. We don't, when they say a locality is unsafe, then we don't do that. We absolutely stay away from that. We still do our things. We go out at night. We sometimes go to clubs and stuff, but we don't do things that we're not supposed to do because we're not reaching. It's not a 1-day trip. It's a 70-day trip. We have to reach somewhere. We have to get to London. So that kind of extreme precaution is always important, and we stick by that, sir. So these are the things. And the second thing that you said was, no, not really. No, I did go to see Naren because he did, his father is a my mom's brother, cousin brother. So I had to go take permission from him, and I sat with him, and he's a great man. And Mr. G.R. Karthikeyan is somebody that entire Coimbatore looks up to, because he has so much of knowledge when it comes to car, and he's raised his son the way he has. And so I did go to him, and he told me a few things about braking distances, how the car behaves, typically the mechanics of the car. But I think I'm a safe driver always. I drive fast, but I'm safe. So those are the things that gives me the confidence to take any roads. I can pick up the car now and drive to Coimbatore, like in the middle of the night. I've done that in emergencies. I would just get in the car and drive. Somebody needs me, and I've done it. So yes, sir. So I hope that answers your question. No,
wonderful. I have a small request.
Yes, sir.
I have a request. Since you have already done such a daring, adventurous activity, you see, today, if you look at the Indian business environment, there are a lot of startup companies, when the risk-taking appetite is very, very less. Like, we always try to play on the comfort zone.
Right.
So if you can devise something like a master class in adventure,
right,
a master class in adventure, which is more of some sort of educating us on setting up the mindset,
right,
on taking risk, especially the risk-taking capability of any businessman. I think that would be a wonderful thing, and I would like to be the first student in that.
I'll definitely look on that. So thank you so much.
Innovation will conduct the program.
And thanks to Neena madam and Rajan sir and Satish for organizing such a wonderful speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Hello.
Tell me, please.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, here I'm an advocate, so purely legal background. So first of all, congratulations for your that good journey which you had. And now my next question is, in different countries they have different legal issues, and at the border traffic rules they have different. So any such kind of incidents happen with you where you thought that, oh, now what I have to do, like that moment happen with you?
No, like I said, we always, like, what we do is every time we go to a country, even before we enter, I have it all on soft copy. So I tell the team to read this. Like, these are the rules. In Russia, you cannot drive a dirty car with the number plates full of mud. So you'll have to clean it. So you do so much of research to see what is the rules in different countries, what are the speed limits. So everything is researched and put on paper. So when you enter that country, the previous night we sit down and we go through it. So that's how we've been working. So typically, we've not really had we've not had cops pull us over. No, not for speeding. Because like I said, we're very careful on that. No jumping lights, no parking in, on no parking places. Those are the times. It's only those that I told you that we were stuck in Thailand for 3-4 days. And again in Kyrgyzstan that we were stuck. Those are the two incidents that we had. And on the Russia drive also, we got stuck at the border in China-Russia border for 4 days without a paper again. Without a paper, which we had, typically. So no, we've not really had problems with the cops or we got pulled over. No, like I said, we're very, very careful about driving.
So the each and every country where from where you've gone through, the guides played a good role with in guiding with maps and all those information.
Not really. Only in Myanmar, Myanmar and China are the two places that you will have to have a guide, mandatory guide. Otherwise, you're by yourself. It's your Google Maps, it's your GPS. There's absolutely nobody giving you guidance. So some places we won't have network, and it's you download the maps previous night, and then save it, and then that's how we drive. But it's only in China because it's mandatory. Otherwise, you cannot get into these two countries without a guide in your car. So otherwise, you're on your own. It's only me and the two other women, or me and the other team. Like, it's only us. You're at the mercy
Since you
of
had such a long journey, ma'am. Since you had such a long journey, and of course you enjoyed, you tired, so many things happened with you. But no, one very important thing I want to ask you is, each and every country have their own different social issues, no,
Yes,
social
yes.
views. So which country you feel that no, yes, it is something which easily can go with a person, no, a person can go with easily in these social norms. Which country you feel with the most appropriate social and norms?
So let me tell a little bit about China. So China, each province is like India, very different from like how our states are very different. China is like that. Each province is different. Each food, I mean, it's the noodle, but different types of noodles. There's rice noodle. There's like noodles with it's spicy. Szechuan is spice. So even the food is different. People talk differently. The Chinese is a little like how they talk differently. So it's very different. And I loved Uzbekistan because I found it very liberal in spite of it being an Islamic country. I found that it's one of the most liberal countries that I've been to, because I also noticed that they don't have prayer rooms. Like most of our other countries have prayer rooms. This country does not have prayer rooms in malls and everything. You're not allowed to pray in public, or you don't have these public systems where they have the loudspeakers, they're doing the namaz. That's banned in Uzbekistan. So I found it very, very, very liberal, very, very nice. The people are fabulous. In fact, I want to tell a little bit about the people that I met there. I met this group. The Indian embassy had arranged for a small concert. We had only reached Tashkent at 6 in the evening, and there was a little drama before that because we had an earthquake when we were entering Uzbekistan in the border, and the whole thing was shaking. So we were a little rattled by it, and we reached Tashkent, and the embassy tells us you have a concert at 7 o'clock. You have to go to this address. We'll meet you there. And I was like extremely tired, but they've told us to go, and you can't say no, because they've done so much, they've gone out so much and helped you. So we made our way to these people's homes, and they were a Uzbeki family, and there were 4 kids, and they sang Hindi music. We walked in and they were singing songs, and they were singing from Raj Kapoor to Shah Rukh Khan to everything, and they sing it like how Bollywood songs, and they don't speak a word of Hindi. They don't even speak English properly. If you try to talk to them in English, they don't speak English except that one boy. There are 4 kids. You can Google them. And we spent the evening with them, and I had the most overwhelming experience there. And the best thing is that they're such a beautiful family. And then I kept in touch with them. After I came back, I invited them to Coimbatore, and they flew to Coimbatore for a concert, and for free. And I only gave them air tickets, and I gave them stay, and they came all the way from Uzbekistan to Coimbatore for a concert when they helped me raise funds for a NGO that I work with for transgenders. So that's the kind of love and the connections that I've made on this trip. And they are so beautiful. You should look them up. They're called Havas Guruhi, but not the Hindi Havas. So you can look them up. And they have 4 kids, and yesterday was Kakramon's birthday. So they've become my family. So there are so many of these families across the world. So I'm in Uzbekistan.
Your family is expanded.
Yes, totally.
To a whole world now.
Absolutely. So yes, these are the kind of relationships and contacts that you actually make on such trips. So please
really happy to attend this webinar, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for exploring such a huge informative interaction with us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Participants, any more questions?
Madam, I am Dr. Subramani.
Tell me, sir.
Yeah, I think it must be, you have traveled so much, thousands of kilometers, and you look fresh, young, energetic, everything fine. The one question is very difficult for you to answer, but I will ask. I want to know who is younger, whether your daughter or yourself.
I hope she doesn't hear that, sir. She's not going to like it at all.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And another question is, there must be some factor from your younger age that must have been motivated you, either from your friends or your teachers or school or somewhere. So tell something about your basic education and college or where you have done. Because also I have come from Coimbatore only. I studied in Coimbatore, PSG. Okay. And where have you done all your studies, schoolings and everything? Which has some factor must be definitely there. That must have motivated. Otherwise people go different directions. You have taken very challenging and different kind of
You're right, sir. You're right, sir. So my dad
cultivated to this level. Kindly tell about your early education and school.
Sure, So I went to school and college in Coimbatore. I'm a business management graduate. I went to a co-ed school and then went to a all-girls college where I didn't like at all. I was sticking out like a sore thumb and it was very hard. I made it through 3 years of the college and graduated and never went back. So I didn't pretty much enjoy my college life because it was very, very claustrophobic for me because I've always been around boys. It was the gender thing never existed for me. And I found it very difficult because back then, I don't know, I was thinking like a boy, and then there were these girls who like literally, very, very, it was very difficult. So I found it hard. I'm a business management graduate, like I said. And then my father is a great inspiration because he's a great driver. My own brother, Sanjay Subain, is also a racer. But my father, when we were kids, he used to put us in the car and drive us to cricket matches. He was a great cricket match fan. So he used to drive us to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and in an ambassador, we used to drive, Then I used to sit in the front and I watched you see this man change gears and clutch. And from 5-6 years, I've seen him do that. And I always sat in the front because I was a girl. And then he didn't have a sister. I was a 4th generation first girl. So I was given the spot next to him. And then that's how for me the whole fascination about driving came. My father was my inspiration. Now that you ask, I've always been saying that, but
Definitely.
Dad's been somebody who's and he also let me be. My father was never this man who held me back. He always let me do what I wanted.
Right.
Even though I was I was kind of a rebel, and those days you didn't see very many girls riding a bike at 15. So he just let me be. He let me grow. So Dad is somebody that who's my inspiration, I would say. So.
Yeah, very nice of him, and that has come motivated and brought to this level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for that.
Any more questions?
Hi, Meenaka, and hi, everybody.
Hi, Anu.
I'm Anu. I'm a magistrate in Kerala. I have I've known Meenakshi since I think right before your trip to the first trip, Coimbatore London trip. So yeah, I have a question for you.
Really?
It's not that I cannot ask you anytime, but then now I see that there are a lot of women in this group. So I just want to put out this one question.
Sure.
I personally believe that there is nothing a woman can't do.
Absolutely, I believe that.
So I just want to ask you this one particular question. Were there any gender specific challenges that you had to face in both your trips? Even Coimbatore London and the Coimbatore Russia trip?
So yes, when we said that it's an all-women trip, Coimbatore London, my family was okay with it. My immediate friends were okay with it, but I got a lot of criticism from the public, or not general public, just random friends, distant relatives. They would call and say, why do you want to do this? As women, do you think you can do it? It's too dangerous. I kept getting that every day. I would try to do something 4 steps and then they would pull me back 8 steps by morale. It was very, very hard to fight that. It was extremely hard. And then when it all picked up, when it became an all-women thing, and then started people recognizing, and Facebook took off, we were getting a lot of media and everybody joining in. But till that point, they were only trying to pull me back. Maybe it was because of, they were worried about my safety. Maybe. I'm not so sure. But we did get a lot of criticism. Why do women want to do this? Why it's so unsafe? But I don't see, the second trip, we had 4 men. But we still faced challenges. I think we faced it better as all women. There was more, we were able to think better because there were 4 men on this drive. And it was actually more difficult, I would say. It was actually more difficult than the all women thing. So, yes, when you're a woman and you want to do something like this, like how can a woman do that? I do not think we are the weaker sex. I do not believe that. I can do anything a man can do. I can change a tire. How many men can do that? You can change a tire, Anu.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I know you can. So how many men can do that? There's nothing that women can't do. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, but then were there anything that happened during your trip that you faced?
No, not really.
That is gender specific in other countries?
No, not really. No, absolutely not. We've only faced adoration actually more than, in fact, I wanted to tell you, we were in Belarus and we had parked the car and I would say the men were in awe of us more than the women. The women were cold. I would say there was you note my point here. The women on the road were very aloof, like, I mean, who are these women, strange looking women. But the men came up to you, take pictures, and they were in total awe of the car because we had the map on the side of the car, and they will come and look, and they look at us and they won't know what the hell is happening. Who are these three women? Where are they coming from? Each one looks different, the three of us, we look so different also. So they would look at us and wonder, and we tried to talk to them, and they were just shocked at what was happening. So we've only had adoration more than anything else. But the women were cold. Like, I must tell you that women across were kind of little, maybe because the language, I'm not sure what it was, but they were little wary of us. Yes, that was there.
Yeah. Okay. You are such an inspiration for all women out there. Just putting it out.
Thank you, Anu.
Any more questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Madam, why don't you write a book about your trip, madam?
Sir, நீங்க இங்க வந்தீங்க. நீங்க இங்க வந்தீங்க. Oh my God. Okay.
Actually, I used to watch regularly your program and daily.
Okay, sir.
If I can't able to get your information, உடனே உங்க சாருக்கு கூப்பிட்டு பேசுவேன். என்னாச்சு மேடம், ஒரு 3-4 days on information இல்லையே, what happened, எங்க இருக்காங்க, are they safe அப்படின்லாம் கேட்பேன்.
Oh, nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really, really touched. Thank you so much. See, this is the kind of love that I get, and it's totally overwhelming. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Please give my love to everybody at home.
Very good, madam. Thank you very much. Why don't you write a book, madam, about this program?
I've been wanting to. I've written here and there. I've written a few chapters, but I've just not been able to put it together. I'm hoping to do it sometime, sir. Maybe in the next year.
Yes, sure. I'm expecting your book soon, madam.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Meenakshi, I have one last message.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
In fact, I got so inspired. You are telling only women are getting inspired. Not only women, I think even men get inspired by your talk.
Thank you, sir.
So as a brand consultant, while you are talking, I made you a tagline for you.
Thank you, sir.
The tagline, how I describe Meenakshi Arvind, is that daring and caring. Daring because you are daring to face the life adventure, and caring because you care for the cervical cancer patients. I think that's the.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can find me on Facebook as Meenakshi Sai, and then also on Instagram as Goldfish. I will just type it in this so people can.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Continue, Anna.
Okay. She is not just a regular traveler. She is on a journey of journeys. Meenakshi ma'am is a role model for many, and her accomplishments are an inspiration to the society. Thank you, ma'am. Ace Innovation Group and Blue Hornbill Club is here to break through the difficulties in enriching the lives of people through storytelling across the globe. Watch out for the World Storytelling Championship next year, and also look out for many more creative programs to be launched by the Ace Innovation Group. A mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself with a bright vision of the future, a practical and optimistic, kind-hearted leader making a difference in the world by his positive contribution. Ace Innovation's very own founder and CEO, Major Rajan, will deliver the closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Ms. Meenakshi, for wonderful sharing. You actually made our series really exciting. You spiced up today. A lot of women are enjoying. A lot of men going to be more gutsful. We really admire your guts. I think it's the mindset, which is not easy. With the mindset, you can actually really do big difference, like what Mr. Sivakumar said. And about the book, I think it's very important because your experiences are very unique, especially just being in a groups of women you travel. It will be very useful, your book, lot of messages. I think 70 days trip, we can write maybe a couple of books. Thank you for joining us. And I believe another important factor here is for being so successful and unique, there are a lot of men behind you. Like what the saying is, for every successful man, there's a successful woman behind. So likewise, I believe you've got a lot of support from the men. With this kind of support from the men, a lot of women can go very far.
Absolutely.
So it'd be nice if you can share 1 or 2 words about the man behind
Yes, sir.
who giving you all the support.
So my husband's name is Arvind, and I've been married 25 years this year, and he's never really said no to anything that I've done. I would probably tell him, I had planned all this and I said, I'm going to London by car. He's like, okay. That's the expression I would get from him, because he knows how much I can plan and I do things, because I've always been planning our family holidays, putting things together. So he's only been my quiet pillar of support. He's always in the back. He's a very quiet person. He's a very private person. So I'm this person who's flamboyant, who's always out there talking to people, making friends, while he's sitting like this, and watching all of us. So he's this man who's been great support. And I should also tell you that I would have still done this Coimbatore London if I didn't have his support. But at the back of my mind, it will not be so fulfilling. I would have done it 100%, knowing the person that I am, and nothing stops me and nobody can stop me, the kind of attitude. I would have done it, but I wouldn't have been so fulfilled if my family was not there to receive me, my husband, my brothers, who are also great pillars of support, 2 older brothers. And my second, they are very, very extremely possessive and caring about me. I don't know how they let me do these things, but they're always on my back more than I don't call my husband when I'm traveling. I don't call him. But my brothers, I will have to call and report to them. So that's how protective they are. So we are the 3 of them in my family have really, really been great support. My dad's no more, but I know he's watching over me from wherever he is, because he's the person that I always look up to. He's this great, for every daughter, the father is the biggest hero. And so is in my life also, it's like that. But living, these 3 men are that. Arvind is, like I said, he's there, and Srinivasan sir knows, Anu knows, they see him all the time. So he has been this silent, quiet pillar behind me. And without him, I couldn't have done this, sir. I couldn't have done it so happily and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Major sir.
Thank you, Hannah.
Alone, we can do so little. Together,
Thank you, Major sir.
we can
Thank
do
you,
so
Balachandra
much.
sir.
A special thanks to our team, Major Rajan, Dr. Neena, Satish sir, Swati ma'am, Vanita and Salma, for your never-ending support. Our next webinar is on 13th of August at 6:30 p.m. by Mr. K.S. Kamaluddin, Managing Director, Blue Bharat Exim Private Limited, on simple steps to start your entrepreneurial journey. This is Henna signing off. Thank you.
Thank you, Neena.
Thank you.
Madam, Rajan sir, and bye, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Meenakshi.
Meenakshi.
Thank
That
you. Thank
was
you for that
very
wonderful
inspiring.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, Satish.
Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you.
So much, Balaji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Major.
Mr. Bala sir. Thank you, Satish. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
Rajan.
Subramaniam.
Shiva, we've been
Thank
wanting
you.
to call you. I think we will be.
Okay, I understand. It's all run-of-the-mill meetings.
Sir, your team is simply rocking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, organizing everything, and it's so fine, very nice, interesting. We enjoy being here.
Thank you. That's
Thank you,
the,
Mr. Subramaniam sir.
Thank you.
Madam Sasikala is missing.
Yes.
She's there. She's listening.
Oh, she's listening. Okay. Okay, thank you, Neena. Thank you, Innovation
Thank you.
team.
We'll sign
We'll
off.
catch up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll catch up later. Thanks.
Yes, sure, definitely. Thank you.
Raji, thanks for coming. I don't know. Left out. Other people are not going. Thanks, Satish.
Nina, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bala sir has come on other line.
Swati?
Nina?
Yes, Akka, what?
Nina?
You? We were waiting with... Yes, Shashika. Hello? Can you hear? Unmute your... Unmute and talk, Shashika.
Nina?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Nina?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Nina.
How is it?
I think I'll see you later. But there's something wrong here.
Okay. No problem.
My grandbaby is trying to come and help me out with. I'm not able to hear it. This weather. I'll call after some time. I don't want to disturb you anymore.
No problem.